We're here on an adversary hearing. Mr. Albee is with us for the department. Casa is with us. Mr. Michelson is with us representing the child. And Mr. Wilson is with us representing the parents, Mr. and Mrs. Watley, who are with us. Where do we stand, Mr. Albee?
Judge, I believe that we don't have any disagreements today. My understanding from my conversations with Mr. Wilson is that the Watleys will agree that Rachel Watley, the child that's subject to this suit, will remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. We have her placed already, Your Honor. There are some behaviors that she has that we need to make sure that we've addressed in a satisfactory manner. And we will also be offering services to the Watleys eventually, with the thought that we might be able to reunify this family, but we've got to work through some other things first.
All right. What type of facility and where is Rachel currently placed?
I'll rely on Miss Jones to be able to tell us that.
No, I did not do the placement. That would be Lenora.
Okay.
Okay.
Judge, then I would ask that you bring Lenore and Brian in and we'll get that information from them.
Okay. Mr. Squire, this is Judge Graham. They've just announced that they have an agreement in this case that the department will remain temporary managed. Conservator placement will continue. For my records, I just need to know what type of facility Rachel's in and either city or county.
She is in RTC and she's in Sugar Land, Texas.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Wilson, you've heard that agreement. Is that your client's agreement today also?
It is, Judge.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Michelson, are you in agreement on behalf of the child?
I am, sir.
All right. I don't know, Casa, is it Brandy or Grace? Whose case is this?
It's my case.
Okay. Brandy, are you in agreement with this today?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then. Then I will approve the agreement. I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue the current placement of Rachel. We'll have our status hearing on February 7th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two before February 7th to see exactly what time we will have that hearing. So, all right, that will conclude this case. We'll stand in recess. Mr. Albee is with us for the department. Casa is with us. Mr. Harris is with us representing the children. Ms. Archer is with us representing the mother, Ms. Graham, who is with us. And one of the two alleged fathers, Austin Breyer, who's the alleged father to Dakota Breyer, is with us. The alleged father to Jesse Thomas Poplin is not with us. Again, this case was set for 9:30. It's now, I'm sorry, 9:45. It's now 9:47. He is not in the waiting room. Austin Breyer, this is Judge Graham. If you'd unmute.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Breyer, I need to tell you that you have been pled in this case as what's called an alleged father to Dakota. That tells me that you weren't married to Miss Graham when Dakota was born. Is that correct?
That is true.
Were you at the hospital when Dakota was born?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall anybody, hospital staff, giving you paperwork to sign called an acknowledgement of paternity, whereby you were admitting that you're the biological father to Dakota?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you happen to have a copy of that?
The birth certificate?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be the birth certificate. It would be called an acknowledgement of paternity that would have had to been notarized.
I do not think I have the copy.
Okay, but you do recall signing it?
Yes, sir. I did sign paperwork.
Okay. Mr. Albee, do you know, has the Department of St. Francis been able to locate that?
Not that I'm aware of at this time, Your Honor. Okay.
Well, Mr. Breyer, let me go ahead and advise you then, since we don't know, you're going to remain alleged until we find that acknowledgement of paternity, or you tell me that you are the father. But let me go ahead and just admonish you. Unless we find that acknowledgement of paternity, you have the absolute right to paternity testing to prove you are or you are not the biological father of Dakota. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
If we don't find that acknowledgement of paternity, do you want paternity testing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then I won't go any farther until we get that issue resolved. I can't even consider whether or not you're entitled to a court-appointed attorney, because we don't know yet that you are the biological father of Dakota. So we'll have to deal with that later.
Okay.
Okay. All right then. Mr. Albee, you wanted Mr. Harris, you and Miss Archer in the breakout room?
Correct.
But Brianna Graham is in agreement to the department taking conservatorship today, and she agrees to work services and do what she needs to do for these kiddos.
Okay. All right then. Mr. Breyer, let's get back to you if you'd unmute.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Breyer, what's Ms. Archer saying is that Ms. Graham, the mother, has agreed that the department will continue to be temporary managing conservator of these children, and their placements will be continued. that leaves us to you. You have the right to have a hearing today. All I can tell you is since you are asking for paternity testing and we don't know if you're still an alleged father, this court doesn't place children with alleged fathers until we determine if they are a biological father. So, but you have the right to go forward with a hearing today if you're not in agreement with what Ms. Graham has agreed to.
Yeah, I know that I was the father, and I do remember signing paperwork when I went up to do the birth certificate. So I would like them in my custody.
Okay, we'll have to have a hearing because I don't know that you're the father yet just because you say you signed some paperwork. So,
Yes, sir. I agree. Then I would like the hearing.
okay, all right then, Mr. Albee.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will call Miss Brianna Graham.
You're cutting in and out, sir.
All right, Judge, that's okay. I can deal with this without calling her as a witness.
Okay, all right.
All right. I would call Mr. Austin Breyer.
Okay, Mr. Breyer, if you'd unmute again.
Yes, sir.
All right, if you'd raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear that I will give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah, you can just say yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, Mr. Albee.
Mr. Breyer, how old are you?
I am 25.
And you say that you are Dakota's father.
Yes, sir.
You were at the hospital when Dakota was born.
Yes, sir.
And you signed some paperwork, but you don't have any copies of any of that paperwork with you.
That is true.
Has Dakota ever lived in your care?
Yes, sir.
When?
I was with Brianna when he was first born. It took a month for the hospital to discharge him because he had trouble breathing. And then once we had custody, he was with me until a year ago.
Okay. And in the last year, how much visitation have you been exercising?
I got to talk to him on Messenger for a little bit.
Did you have any face-to-face contact with him?
No, sir.
And how often did you have messenger contact with him?
It was occasionally like once every 2 days, or it would be daily. And then here lately, it hasn't been much.
Are you aware that Miss Graham had another child that was living with her?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware that that child, whose name is Jesse, is 11 years old?
Yes, sir.
And when you and Brianna were living together, was Jesse going to private schools?
She was homeschooled.
And who was teaching her?
It would be me and Brianna. We would sit down every night, and then we would teach her mathematics, multiplication, and division.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt for just a second. I need to take a quick phone call.
Mr. Breyer, I'm going to ask that whoever is sitting there with you not talk to you while I'm asking you questions. Can you agree with me on that?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Breyer, let me go ahead and tell you, your testimony needs to be what you're thinking, not what someone's telling you to think or say. So I just reiterate what Mr. Hadley said. Who is it in there? Who's in there with you?
This is my mother.
Okay.
She's on the Zoom call.
I'm going to ask, excuse me. Yeah. I'm going to ask that she leave the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
You let me know when she's out of that room.
She just left.
Okay. All right, Mr. Albee.
Thank you. Mr. Breyer, did you know that Jessie is pretty seriously delayed in her education?
I agree for what she was. Well, when I was in school, I had learned all that. So I agree on the delay in the education.
And you're telling me that she was with you for at least a year?
Yes, sir. And I did do multiplication and division, and she did pick it up quite well.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to anything past yes when I ask him a yes/no question as non-responsive.
Okay. All right. Sustained. Mr. Breyer, if he asks you a question that can be answered either yes or no, you just can answer yes or no. You don't have to expound on your answer.
Okay.
And Mr. Breyer, did you know that Jessie has some pretty serious medical issues at this time?
No, sir.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
Where are you employed at?
Little Caesars,
And how long have you been working for Little Caesars?
about 4 days now.
And what kind of wage are you making at Little Caesars?
$9.50 right now. I'm in training though.
And do you have health insurance?
Sooner Care.
And that's through Oklahoma?
Yes, sir.
Do you live in Oklahoma?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where at?
Midwest City.
Good. And are you aware that Dakota has some pretty serious medical issues?
I got the paperwork 30 minutes ago, but yes.
Do you know that Dakota has been losing weight for a number of months while he was with his mother?
No.
But you were FaceTiming or face messaging him on a daily or every other day basis, and you didn't notice he was losing weight.
I assumed that he was getting bigger and taller.
Do you have any medical training, Mr. Breyer?
No, but my mother does have a CNA, RNA, and a medical doctorate, not doctorate, where they do the like counts of the medicine.
And you live with your mother.
Yes, sir.
But you don't have any way or any training on how to take care of a child who has cerebral palsy.
No, sir, but I was around my brother since I was.
Again, objection, Your Honor. It's non-responsive, anything past no.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Just saying.
And you haven't had any face-to-face, hands-on contact with Dakota in a year. Is that what your testimony is?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass with you, sure.
All right. Mr. Breyer, who lives in the home with you and your mother other than you and your mother?
That would be my brother Jake, my brother Jonathan, and her boyfriend Gerald.
Whose boyfriend?
My mom's.
Okay. How old are your brothers?
My brother Jake is, I think he's 14. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure that Jonathan is 19, coming on 20.
All right. And what's your mother's boyfriend's name?
Gerald, I don't know his last name.
How long's he lived with you and your mother?
He lived with my mom for 2 years.
How long have you been living with him and your mother?
1.
1 year?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know his last name after a year?
No, I just call him Gerald.
Okay. All right. All right, Ms. Archer, questions?
Has your mom spent any time around the two kids, Jesse or Dakota?
Yes.
How much time?
She would babysit him whenever I would go out to work, and then when we were at home, she would spend time with Dakota and Jesse as well.
Did she notice any health issues?
I can't really say for her, but I know she helped with the physical therapy that the doctor talked about.
Okay, so the doctors, the children did go to the doctors while you were with them?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many times?
I'm pretty sure we went when they scheduled us. And I'm not really sure on how many times, because there were some times that I was not there. I was either at work or doing something else.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right. Mr. Harris?
That way, Judge, I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right. Anybody have follow-ups for Mr. Breyer?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Albee, any other witnesses?
I don't have any further witnesses, Your Honor. Just a brief statement if you allow me to make.
All right, Ms. Archer, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harris, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Alley, you can make your statement, and then I'll get Mr. Harris's recommendation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the department doesn't feel like that it would be safe to return either of these children to Mr. Breyer. He doesn't have the training or the knowledge to be able to take care of these children's medical issues. He doesn't have the relationship with these children to be able to handle those those medical issues. In addition, since Mr. Breyer is asking for genetic testing, he would not be an actual father to the child until we can get that genetic testing. So we'd ask that you follow our agreement with Ms. Graham and that you leave the children in temporary managed conservatorship of the department.
All right, let me just ask you, Mr. Albee, just very briefly, who is your witness for the department today?
Lenore Aguirre.
Okay, I need to ask her just a couple of questions. Okay, you've heard the testimony today from Mr. Breyer, have you not?
Yes.
And you've heard the agreement that's been reached with Mrs. Graham, the mother?
Yes.
Would returning this child to both of these children, I'm sorry, would returning them to any of the parents today be a continued danger to their physical health and safety at this time?
Yes.
Would it be contrary to the children's welfare to be returned to any of the parents at this time?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I had. Mr. Albee, do you have any questions for her?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Harris?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, then, Mr. Harris, recommendations?
Judge, the department needs to continue as a temporary managing conservator.
Okay. Okay, I need to know from my records, this can be Ms. Aguirre, I guess, again, if you're the one that knows. I need to know where these children are placed, what type of facility in either city or county.
They are placed in the emergency shelter in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, then, Casa, anything to add?
No, Your Honor, we agree.
Okay. Mr. Breyer, you've told me today that you are Dakota's father, and then you've also said you want paternity testing. Ms. Canada, did you find any acknowledgement of paternity?
Yes, there is one on file, and I forwarded it to Haley.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, then, Mr. Breyer, since you have signed an acknowledgement of paternity, you have already acknowledged that you are the biological father of Dakota, so I'm going to deny your request for paternity testing.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and, based on what Mr. Breyer said, first of all, I find that Austin Breyer is, in fact, the biological father of established that parent-child relationship today. And then based on what I've heard, then I will also, I believe it's in Dakota and Jesse's best interest that the department continue as temporary managing conservator and that the children's current placement continue. Mr. Breyer, let me advise you now, since I have just found that you are the biological father, you have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, you have the right to ask that the court consider whether or not you're entitled to a court-appointed attorney. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to ask for a court-appointed attorney today? That would be at no cost to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'll have to fill out some paperwork. Were you provided that paperwork yet by someone from either the department or St. Francis?
I was provided with paperwork at 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay. Just fill that out, and you can either get it back to someone with St. Francis, I guess. Would that be you, Miss Aguirre? No? Who should he get his paper? You can either get it to my office. My office is in Amarillo. I don't know if you have an email address.
I do.
Okay. Let me do it this way. Do you have something to write on? I'm going to give you my office phone number, 86. You can call that number and you can talk to my coordinator, Haley Morrow, Morrow, and y'all can figure out the easiest way to be sure you have that paperwork and be sure you fill it out completely and get it back to us so I can consider whether or not you're entitled to a court-appointed lawyer, okay?
Okay.
And be sure you give me a good phone number and a good address, and if you have it, an email address, because if you qualify for an attorney, we'll contact you to let you know who that attorney is, and then at that point it'll be your job to contact that attorney to set up an appointment, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Judge,
All
if
right.
I may,
I'm sorry?
if I may, I think he was just served with the petition in the order for today's hearing because he lives in Oklahoma City, so I had to mail the citation. So I think he was served by the sheriff this morning.
Okay.
So I don't think he has the affidavit.
Okay. Well, let's get him everything he needs, especially his request for a court-appointed attorney. So, okay. Our next hearing in this case will be the status hearing, and that will be on February 7th, 2024. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so the parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of February 7th to see exactly what time. Mr. Alves with us for the department. Ms. Talley is with us for CASA. Mr. Harris is with us representing the children. And I believe Ms. Lucero, is that you again on the phone?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Okay, Ms. Lucero is with us representing the father, Mr. Stiegel, who is not with us, not in the waiting room. And Ms. Archer is with us representing the mother, Ms. Klein, who is not with us and not in the waiting room. Ms. Lucero, were you expecting your client?
Your Honor, I did reach out to him and provide the Zoom link. I've had conversations with him via email, but I just wanted to advise the court. The last email I received from him, I believe it was on Monday. He had some choice words and said that I was fired, but that's the last contact I had with him.
Okay. Ms. Archer, were you expecting your client?
Well, Your Honor, I've had a very hard time reaching my client. She did finally respond to a text this morning and gave me her email address. I sent her the link to the hearing. I've also retexted that number and called it. And she said, sounds great. Here's my email. Thank you. And I haven't heard from her. So she does have the link, and I apparently have the right number. So.
All right. Well, I'm noting back the last time either of these parents attended a hearing was in March of 2023. And they've missed 4 or 5 hearings since then. So I didn't hold out a lot of hope that they would be here. Okay, this case, as I said, was set for 11:15. It's now 11:25. We will proceed in their absence.
Before I call any witnesses, Your Honor, I have a number of exhibits I would like to pre-admit.
Okay, sure.
I would offer petitioner's exhibit number 1, which is a certified copy of the original petition that was filed in this case with the corresponding affidavit. Offer petitioner's exhibit 2, which is a certified copy of the temporary order from this court. File petitioner's exhibit 3, which is the certified copy of the status order from this court. Petitioner's 4, which is a certified copy of the family plan of service for Ms. Klein. Petitioner's 5, which is a certified copy of the family plan of service for Mr. Stiegel. Petitioner 6, Your Honor, which is a business records affidavit for the drug screens that the department had Mr. Stiegel complete. And then petitioner's 7, Your Honor, which is a business records affidavit for the drug screens the department has asked mom to complete. Your Honor, I would call Ms. Yolanda Novak. And where is Hadley currently placed?
In a foster home.
And
in Amarillo.
And how long has she been in that foster home?
She's been in the same home since she was placed a year ago today, sir.
And she's just barely turned 1 at this time.
Correct. Her birthday was on the 7th of January.
So she has been in her current placement with that foster home. And that foster parent's name is Sarah Medley. I didn't hear you, Miss Novak.
Yes, correct.
And she's been in that home for all but just a few days of her life.
Right.
And that foster placement has advised you that she would like to be a permanent, possibly adoptive home for Hadley.
Yes, she's interested.
And you have been in that home a number of times?
Yes, every month since she's been placed.
And that home is a suitable place for Hadley?
Yes, it is.
And Miss Medley would be a suitable parent for Hadley?
Yes, she would be.
Nobody else lives in that home?
No, it's just her. She's single.
And there's no criminal background or criminal issues with Miss Medley?
Not that I know of. I personally have not run it because she's licensed through an agency, Buckner. But I have not ran it, but she's been licensed through them, sir.
And it's your understanding that to be licensed with Buckner, any criminal issues have to be resolved prior to that licensing?
Correct.
As far as you know, Miss Medley doesn't have any substance abuse issues?
No, she does not.
Hadley was removed from Miss Klein and Mr. Stiegel right after her birth because of substance abuse issues.
Yes, Hadley was positive.
Hadley
so
was
mom.
Hadley was positive for methamphetamines, and mom actually admitted to using methamphetamines on the day or on the day before Hadley was born.
Your
That's
Honor,
my
I'm going to object to
understanding,
hearsay
yes.
and leading.
Leading, sustained, hearsay, overruled.
Have you reviewed the file? Let me strike that. Let me start over. As a St. Francis Ministries permanency specialist, is it your job to handle or hold the case file?
Yes.
And does what is typically required of anybody who has any dealings with a child when the child is in the care of the department in order to document that case?
Sure, I understand your question.
It was because it was a terrible question. I'm trying to get through all this, and I apologize, Ms. Novak. Are there duties that every investigator and or caseworker has that's involved with a child that's removed by the DFPS to document their actions?
Yes.
What are those duties?
Well, after communicating with the parties involved in the case, if I have contact with them, I document in our impact system the contact that I had with them.
And investigators have to do that also. Is it your understanding?
That's my understanding, yes.
And you're in charge of that impact file.
Well, I have access to it, yes, sir.
And those actions are done in order to, at the time of each action done by anybody involved in the case, correct?
Correct.
And is that done to help refresh the memory of those folks?
Yes.
And is it done in the regular course of business of the department and St. Francis Ministries?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the file for Hadley prior to coming into the court today?
Yes, sir.
And in your review of that file, did you see that there was an investigation done at the time that Hadley was born?
Yes, I did.
And what did Miss Klein tell the investigator when they were talking about substance abuse at the time the child was born?
She had used methamphetamines the day of delivery.
When did you become the caseworker for this case?
On January 10th of 2023.
So
She was placed into care.
You've been the caseworker then for the whole time that the child's been in care?
Yes.
How is Hadley doing today?
She is well, and she's growing and almost walking, taking a few steps here and there on her own, but almost walking. She's had typical illnesses, ear infections, that type of thing, but I saw her last night and she's very well, sir.
Would you categorize her as being developmentally on target?
Yes.
Are you aware of any issues, medical issues that she had when she was born?
She did have some withdrawal symptoms at first. She would shudder, and that has ceased within, I can't remember the exact date that they stopped, but maybe a month or two after she was in care, they stopped, and I don't know of any other issues.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not methamphetamine use when you're pregnant is dangerous for your child?
Your Honor, I'm going to object.
On what basis?
She's not an expert. She doesn't. I don't believe she has, or unless she does have training to make an expert opinion on that.
All right, I'll sustain it at this point.
Have you reached out to Ms. Klein during the time that the child Hadley has been in the care of the department?
I have, and I have tried, and it has not always been consistent.
And was there
sorry.
Was there a service plan developed after the child was removed from care?
Yes,
And who developed that service plan?
I did.
And did you discuss the service plan and the services in that service plan with Ms. Klein?
Yes, sir.
Did she acknowledge that she understood those services?
Yes, and she signed it.
Did you develop a service plan for Mr. Stegall?
Yes, I did.
And did you, was he a part of, well, did he acknowledge he understood the services in that service plan?
Yes, he did, and he signed it.
Now, specifically with Ms. Klein, has she been regularly in contact with you?
No, she has not.
Was she incarcerated for a period of time during this year?
Yes, in October.
And do you know what she was incarcerated for?
It was a violation of her probation.
And do you know, well, from January through October, was she incarcerated?
Not that I know of. I've only known that she was incarcerated in October.
And do you know when she was released from jail?
I believe, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe she was released on November 15th, and she was arrested October 5th or 8th.
Since November the 15th, has she contacted you?
No, sir, she did not. I met with Jerry in December, and he gave me a new phone number for her, and I tried to call her and text her. It said there's not a voicemail set up for that number. She did reply to a text. I tried to notify her of the court hearing today, and all she stated was, "I'm sorry, missed your call. Please call me when you're available." So I tried again yesterday to call her, and it went straight to voicemail again.
When you reached out to her prior to her arrest in October, and then when you reached out to her after her release in November, did you provide her with your phone number?
Prior to October, yes, she had my phone number. I did see her while she was incarcerated. I don't remember if I gave her my phone number then, but since I had the new number and she replied, she had my number this week, sir.
And did you provide her during the time of this case with an email address?
Yes, sir.
And with a mailing address that she could mail things to?
Don't know if I gave her a mailing address, but sometimes it's on the documents that I give her.
And I'm going to go over some portions of the service plan with you and ask you some questions about that, okay?
Okay.
Was part of her service plan that she was to maintain contact with you?
Yes.
And do you believe that she has maintained contact with you?
I do not.
Was part of her service plan that she was to locate and maintain stable and appropriate employment?
Yes.
Has she provided you with any documents concerning her employment?
She has not.
Do you know if she's employed today?
I do not know.
Do you know if she's been employed at all since January of 2023?
I do not know.
Part of her service plan was that she was to locate and maintain stable housing?
Correct.
Have you been in a home that she says is her home?
I have not, and currently I do not know where she is living.
At the time of Hadley's birth, was she residing in LaForce?
At the time, at the beginning of the case, she reported she was living in Pampa. And then in the middle of the case, she had told me that she had moved to LaForce and gave me that address. I have not seen her at that address. And then when I saw,
go ahead.
Sorry, when I saw her when she was incarcerated, she still reported the LaForce address as her home address. And I have not been able to contact her there.
Have you been to LaForce since she was released from jail?
To LaForce, but not to that address, no.
Have you been to any house that Miss Klein says she lives in?
Yes, I did an AccuSearch. I can't remember when I did it. It was October or November to try to locate an address for her since she hadn't made contact. And then I went to 3 addresses in Pampa that it had listed, and she was not at any of those addresses.
So you've not been into any house that she says is her home?
Correct.
You agree with me? She has not provided any evidence of a safe and stable environment for the child to live in?
Agreed.
Part of her service plan was that she would maintain a drug-free lifestyle?
Correct.
And in order to be able to show that she had a drug-free lifestyle, was she asked to complete random drug screens?
Yes.
And have you asked her to complete random drug screens?
I did until I didn't have communication with her. There was a couple months I didn't have a phone number or an address for her, so she was unable to be located. And then since I have her number now, I can reach out to drug screen her, but she hasn't been drug screened.
All right. That's
Sorry,
going.
I was going.
Let me
It's
ask
like, did you want to look up the last date?
All right,
I'm
let me
sorry, ma'am.
Y'all are talking over each other.
I'm just going to ask you some questions about specific dates, Miss Novak. Okay.
Okay.
Did you ask her to go drug screen in March of 2023?
Yes.
And what were the results? Did she actually go drug screen at that time?
She drug screened March 1st for an observed UA, and it was negative. And she also did a hair follicle on that same day, and it was negative.
Did you ask for an oral drug screen on April the 13th?
Yes, I did.
And what did she tell you about methamphetamine use on that day?
She admitted that she had used methamphetamines 2 weeks prior to that day, and she refused to do an oral swab in the St. Francis office for me that day.
Since that day in May, on May 4th and May 26th, did you ask her to do random drug screens?
I did, and she did not.
And on June 15th of 2023, did you ask her to do a random drug screen?
Yes, I did, and she did not.
On July 10th of 2023, did you ask her to do a random drug screen?
I believe that was court ordered that day, but yes, and she did not go.
On August 24th, did you ask her to do a random drug screen?
I was unable to locate or contact her. I would have sent her that day, but I was unable to.
On September 1st of 2023, did you ask her to do a random drug screen?
I intended to, but I wasn't able to locate her, sir.
On October the 8th, did you find that she was in custody?
Yes.
Did you ask to send her, or did you want to send her for a random drug screen on December the 14th?
I did not ask her, but I wasn't able to locate her. I did not have her new number until later in the month of December, sir.
So she has not taken a drug screen since she admitted to use in April.
That would be correct.
Because of her substance abuse issues, was part of her family plan of service that she do an OSAR evaluation?
Yes.
And did she complete an OSAR evaluation?
I'd have to look. Well, she did complete it, but she did not follow the recommendations. They recommended for her to do inpatient treatment.
And
she,
as an alternative, did you offer her to do a Padre class?
Yes.
Did she complete any Padre classes?
No, she did not.
So she's not done an inpatient or a Padre, which is an outpatient type class.
Correct.
As part of her family plan of service, did you ask her to complete individual counseling?
Yes.
Has she completed any individual counseling?
Not that I know of, no.
It would have been important if she completed counseling to provide you with some evidence that she was doing counseling.
Yes.
As part of her family plan of service, did you ask for her to complete a psychosocial evaluation?
Yes.
Has she completed a psychosocial evaluation?
No.
As part of her family plan of service, was she asked to complete a rational behavior therapy class?
Yes.
Has she completed a rational behavior therapy class?
Yes, she did complete that one on
When did she do that?
August 10th of 2023 with Troy Timmons. It's an online class.
Part of her family plan of service, was she asked to do parenting classes?
Yes.
And has she completed any parenting classes?
Not that I know of, no.
Has she exercised visits with Hadley?
No, her visits were suspended after she refused to do an oral swab in April, and then the court suspended them in July.
All right,
Until they. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's talk about that. In between January and April, was she exercising visits with Hadley?
Yes, she had supervised visits.
And do you know how many visits she exercised?
I don't have the exact number.
Would it have been on a weekly basis or a monthly basis?
They were weekly.
So she would have exercised maybe 10 visits?
Yes, possibly 10, yes.
Okay. Since April, because she admitted to using methamphetamines, her visits were canceled.
Yes.
And what were the conditions for her to begin being allowed to visit with her child again?
To have a negative, to submit to a drug screening, and it be negative.
And since April, when she admitted to using meth, she hasn't done that, has she?
She has not.
Would you agree with me then that she has not had significant contact with Hadley?
I don't know if you froze.
Okay.
She has not had contact with Hadley since then.
All right. So would you agree with me she's not regularly visited with Hadley?
Correct.
And the contact she had would have been before Hadley was 5 months old?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Mr. Stegall for just a little bit.
Okay.
He was also ordered to work services in a service plan?
Correct.
As part of his service plan, was he asked to maintain a stable and appropriate employment?
Yes.
Has he complied? Do you know if he's working?
He has reported that he works for his father, but he has not provided proof, and I have asked for even a letterhead from his dad to prove that.
So if he's working for his dad, even a handwritten letter from his dad would have been sufficient.
Correct.
Do you know where Mr. Stegall's living today?
He lives with his dad and his stepmom in La Force, Texas.
Have you been to that home?
Yes.
When was the last time you were in that home?
I went. I saw him at the home November 16th. I did not go in the home. He met me on the porch.
Have you ever been into that home?
Once, early on in the case, yes.
Do you know who all lives in that home?
All I am aware of is him, his dad, and his stepmom.
Would the home have been a safe environment for the children? The home itself been a safe environment for the children or for his child?
When I was there, it appeared to be. I was able to see the living room, the kitchen, and we stayed in the kitchen area when I was there. But it was clean and well kept.
But he did not allow you in the home on November 16th when you went to visit with him?
No, I knocked on the door and he answered and stepped out onto the porch with me. I didn't ask to go in.
Part of his plan was that he remain in contact with you. Has he remained in contact with you?
Not consistently, no.
when you say not consistently, tell me what that means. How often has he contacted you?
He would be in contact with me, and then he would just not respond. There were, I believe, from August to October, I had no contact with him, reaching out, trying to visit him at the home. I sent him letters with no response for him. And then I did an unannounced visit in November, and that's when I saw him. He was home at the time, and I was able to see him. Since then, he's texted me, but it's sparse. It's not like I texted him this week on Monday, but he didn't respond until yesterday. It's just not consistent. That's what I mean when it's not consistent. It's not always, it's delayed responses from him.
When you have reached out to him, has he consistently responded back to you?
Not always, no.
And again, you had provided him with your contact information so that he could provide you with whatever information he may need to give to you?
Yes.
He was also required to maintain a drug-free lifestyle.
Correct.
And as part of that, you had asked him to complete random drug screens?
Yes.
Did he complete a hair follicle test on March 1st of 2023?
Yes, he did.
And was that positive for methamphetamines?
It was March 1st, sorry. And yes, it was positive for marijuana and methamphetamines.
When you asked him to complete a oral swab at St. Francis Ministries on April the 13th of 2023, did he complete that?
No, he refused.
Did he tell you why?
He didn't think that we were allowed to do that in the office, and he said he wanted a lawyer present.
Did you ask him to complete random drug screens on May 4th and May 26th of 2023?
Yes, I did, and he did not.
Did you ask him to complete a random drug screen on June 15th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
And did he respond to you?
He did not go to complete the drug screen, but he did state that he admitted of using methamphetamines a month prior to that and marijuana 2 weeks before 6/15 of 2023.
Did you ask him to drug screen in July and August of 2023?
Yes.
Did he attend?
He did not.
When you asked him to do a drug screen in September and October, were you able to find him?
I was not able to locate him to send him.
Part of the family plan of service, was he also requested to do an OSAR evaluation?
Yes, he was.
And did he complete an OSAR evaluation during the time that he's had to work these services?
He did complete the OSAR, but he did not do the recommendations.
What was the recommendation?
I didn't have it pulled up. In the OSAR that he completed in August, she referred him to Synacor for inpatient treatment, and she referred him to, I think it's Serenity in Plainview. I can't remember the full name of the house and the clinic in Plainview for inpatient treatment, and he did not go.
And you did he ever provide you with any explanation as to why he wouldn't go?
They had a bed available in Plainview, and he said he wanted to be in Amarillo. And he said that he was going to contact them to see if they had a bed available in Amarillo. And after that, I did not hear if.
So if he went, he didn't ever provide you with proof that he went.
Correct.
And he was asked to do individual counseling?
Correct.
Did he complete any counseling?
No.
He was asked to do a psychosocial. Do you know if he completed a psychosocial evaluation?
He has not.
Has Mr. Stegall exercised visits with Hadley?
Not since April. of 2023.
And the visits that he exercised with Hadley prior to April, were those at the same time with Miss Klein?
Some of them were, some of them weren't. At first, they had visits together, and then they separated and they wanted separate visits. And then they got back together and wanted their visits together. So I believe he's had less visits than Krista because he didn't always make them to him.
Would you agree with me if he exercised weekly visits that it would have been about 10 visits that he would have been allowed to have?
Allowed, yes. That he attended, no, it would have been less.
And is there any particular reason he's not exercised any visits since April?
He refused to drug screen for us. Then I let him know that he needed to complete a drug screen and it needed to be negative to resume visits, and he has not provided a negative drug screen.
Do you know if he has completed any parenting classes?
He has signed up, but he has not completed any.
Do you know what he signed up for?
I referred him to Fatherhood Fire for parenting classes. They do them virtually, and I checked in with them last week to see if he had started. They said that he did one, and that they offer a gift card for registering or attending one, and then after that he did not attend any.
Based on your contacts with Miss Klein and Mr. Stegall, do you feel like the reasons for Hadley's removal from them has been alleviated?
No.
Do you feel like it would be against her general welfare to return her to either parent at this time?
Yes.
Do you feel like it would be unsafe to return her to either parent at this time?
Yes, sir.
Based upon your knowledge of the events that led up to the child being placed in the department's care, do you believe that both parents knowingly placed or knowingly allowed the child to remain in conditions or surroundings which endangered the physical or emotional well-being of the child?
Yes.
Do you believe that both parents, based upon your knowledge of the case and your review of the file, do you believe that both parents engaged in conduct or knowingly placed the child with persons who engaged in conduct which endangered the physical or emotional well-being of the child?
Yes.
Do you believe that both parents have constructively abandoned Hadley, who's been in the department's care for a year?
Yes.
Has either parent demonstrated an ability to provide a safe and stable home for this child?
No.
Has either parent had significant contact and or regular visitation with Hadley?
No.
Have you attempted to help these parents complete their services?
Yes, sir.
What steps or efforts have you made to help them complete these services?
Well, I tried to do my best to contact them and locate them. When I met with Mr. Segal in November, he asked if he had hope, and I said that would be up to the judge, that he would need to show extreme effort in working his services, and reminding him that he would have to do all his services on the service plan. And he told me he still had a copy of it. I told him that I could not do the services for him, but I could renew all the referrals that he would needed, such as the OSAR, the counseling, the parenting. Time had lapsed on them, and he would have to start all over on those. And I asked him if he wanted that, and he said yes. So I did all that, and then he didn't follow up with me or with the agencies to start any of those services.
Did you, even though you weren't in actual contact with Miss Klein, did you reach out to her on a regular basis?
I tried to. Once I know that she was incarcerated, I did go see her twice while she was incarcerated. And the second time, she was argumentative with me and did not want to meet with me.
Has both parents failed to comply with the court orders that established the actions they needed to have the children returned to them?
Yes.
Do you feel that the family plan of service that was ordered by the court, or that they specifically set forth the actions necessary for the child to be returned to either parent?
Yes.
And you went over those family plans of service and the services in those with each parent.
Yes.
Today, do you believe that it's in the best interest of Hadley for Mr. Stegall's parental rights to be terminated?
Yes.
Do you believe it's in the best interest of Hadley for Ms. Klein's parental rights to be terminated?
Yes.
If the court agrees and terminates the parental rights of Mr. Stegall and Ms. Klein, are you asking the court to have Hadley continued in the permanent managing conservatorship of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services?
Yes.
You believe all of that is in Hadley's best interest?
Yes.
I'll pass
Sorry.
it.
Well, thank you, Ms. Archer.
When you first met with Miss Klein and had her sign the service plan, did she appear motivated to keep the baby?
Yes, she was at first.
And was she able to do any of the services while she was in jail?
Not that I am aware of, no.
And she didn't have any packets to complete or anything?
No, the first time I met with her, when she was there, I was trying to find out what she could do while she was there. I saw her in the same month while she was there, and she would have been able to do Synacor outpatient, I believe, but she was court ordered to do inpatient services. So the second time that I saw her, I had a release of information for Synacor, and she refused to sign up for me. So she didn't do anything while she was there that I know of.
Did she say why she wouldn't sign?
She stated that I couldn't add things to her family plan of service, and that I was changing things on her, and she just became argumentative, and I wasn't able to explain that that's not what I did. The first time I saw her, I didn't have a copy of the family plan with me. And then the second time that I did, and she was so upset with me, she wouldn't even go through it with me.
Did she make contact with you when she was released?
No, she did not.
Did she attend any of these court hearings? Before I was on the case, I came in late.
Not recent ones, no. I can't remember. The judge mentioned the last time that he had them at the hearing, but it was early in the case.
For the record, the last hearing that Ms. Klein attended was on March 1st of 2023.
Thank you, Judge. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lucero?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Novak, as far as Mr. Stegall, when you met with him, you stated in November, and at that point, would you agree with me that he was kind of maybe at that? Well, let me ask you this: were the goals changed on or around November?
No, the goals were the same in November.
Okay, when were the goals changed to termination?
I don't know. I don't know if I know that. Maybe my supervisor would.
Okay, so did y'all have like a team meeting and decide, hey, we're going to do a goal change? Is that normally the way y'all do it there at the department?
We staff the case, but we don't have a goal for termination. We staff it with our program director.
Okay, but would you agree with me that at one point reunification was no longer the goal?
Correct.
I'm sorry?
Yes. You said correct.
Okay. And just to be clear, Ms. Nowak, did Mr. and the court may know that I don't have that in front of me. Was Mr. Stegall was pled in as an alleged father? Is that correct, or do you know?
He did a paternity test, and he was proven to be father.
Okay. All right then. And as far as at the beginning of the case, did he ever give names? You stated you went to his parents' home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were they ever listed as a possible placement for Hadley?
I saw him on the same day. I saw Mr. Stegall's dad, and I asked him with Jerry there if he wanted to be placement, and he told me that he was uncertain and that he would get back to me. And I've tried to call him since then, and he has not returned my call.
Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Stegall did give you a name of a couple, last name Elrod's, correct, for possible placement of Hadley?
Correct.
Okay, and in that home study, the Elrod's, neither one had any type of criminal history. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance to today's hearing, I'm not sure what a home study on a fictive kin would have relevance as to termination today or the final hearing today.
Your Honor, my line of questioning has to do with there's been testimony that the child has been with the lady that she's been with for a little over a year, or approximately a year, and she's still unsure as to whether or not she wants to adopt. So I was just trying to get an idea about long-term placement if the court does terminate the parental rights.
Well, I'll sustain the objection, although I think you've mischaracterized. I didn't hear him say that she did not, that she was unsure. I heard that she was willing to and ready to go forward to adopt. So, but I'll sustain your objection. You can ask the question.
Okay. All right. Ms. Novak, I'll just ask a quick question about that. I don't want to mischaracterize your testimony. Did you state that placement wants to go forward with adoption, or she's interested in adoption?
She's interested. She will move forward with adoption. She's just waiting to see if she's available.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't catch that earlier. Okay. Now, if something were to fall through with that, if the court does terminate the parental rights of the parents today, would y'all still look at possible placement with Mr. Stegall's father or the Elrods?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, not at this time, but if that future adoption were to fall through.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Overruled. She may not know the answer.
Right.
I don't know the answer.
Okay.
No.
That's as good. That's as good as any answer.
That's good. Okay. All right then. Miss Novak, once the home study was denied, did you see a change in the Elrod home study was denied? Did you see a change in Mr. Stegall's attitude as far as work and services and things like that, or did you notice any type of change?
I did not notice a change.
Okay. And you stated you went through all the services that he was required to complete. As far as his employment, you stated that you visited Mr. Stegall's home with his father. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, has Mr. Stegall, the father in this case, has he been living with his dad and stepmom through the majority of this case?
Through the majority of it, yes.
Okay. And once you met Mr. Stegall's father and you visited their home, did you by chance ask him whether or not Mr. Stegall was working for him, or did you not?
I did, and he said he was. And I asked that day for proof if he would, if he could write me a letter or letterhead stating that his son worked for him, and I have not received anything.
Okay. And you had stated, as far as you know, Mr. Stegall, the father in this case, he did not attend any type of inpatient treatment, as far as you know. Is that correct?
As far as I know, he has not.
Okay. Let me ask you this, if you know, if the court decides to terminate the parental rights of the parents, would St. Francis be opposed to any type of goodbye visit?
I believe they would need to still prove a negative drug screen first.
Like a negative UA, possibly?
Possibly.
Okay. Just to be clear, Ms. Novak, the last time you had contact with my client, Mr. Stegall, that was in November? Or just more recent?
I saw him on December 21st in person.
Okay. And how did that visit go?
Since then, it was okay. Just a check-in with him to see if he started any services, if he had done any services. He had not done inpatient at that time. Just the basic check-in with him that day.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Harris.
Judge, that's number 3 for me today.
Third strike.
There's 3 and I'm out. Ms. Novak, you're asking Judge Graham not only to terminate the parental rights of both parents today, but also to make sure that Hadley continues her placement with her current foster mother. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this, of all foster mothers, this is one of the really good ones, is she not?
Yes, she's very good.
And Hadley has a very strong bond with her, does she not?
Yes, she does.
Pretty much the only parent she's ever known.
Yes.
All right. You believe it's in the best interest not only to terminate the parental rights, but also to be sure they're placed back with the current foster care.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Novak. That's all I have.
All right. Anyone have follow-up questions for Ms. Novak? We'll start with you, Mr. Alvey.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Archer?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Lucero?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Novak, a couple of questions. You had answered questions for Mr. Alvey that you believe that the parents had constructively abandoned Hadley. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you believe that the service plans that for both parents that we've been over in detail, was that a reasonable effort on the part of the department and St. Francis to return Hadley to her parents?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then you testified that Miss Klein admitted to you that she'd used methamphetamine on the day, or maybe the day before. I think it was, the report said the day that Hadley was born. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you testified to some withdrawal signs that Hadley had after birth, correct?
I did not, but foster mom saw them, yes.
Okay. So would you say that her use of the controlled substance methamphetamine that she said she used on the day was using a controlled substance in a manner that endangered Hadley's health?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then. You said that you believe it's in the best interest that both parents be terminated. I don't want you to go into a lot of detail, but can you give me a few reasons why you believe that is in Hadley's best interest?
That they have not engaged in services or completed either of them have not completed their services, and I don't believe either of them have a safe living place for Hadley.
Okay, thank you. That's good enough. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Novak?
No, Your Honor.
Okay,
No,
everyone rest and close.
Judge, just if the court can look in the waiting room, is Sarah Medley in the waiting room?
There is no one in my waiting room.
Good enough. Then I'll rest and close room.
Everyone else rest and close?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Mr. Harris, recommendations.
Your Honor, my recommendation, of course, is that both parents' parental rights be terminated and that placement be continued with the foster mom.
All right, thank you. Ms. Talley, Casa, have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Honor. We're in agreement.
Okay, all right, thank y'all. Okay, then based on the evidence I've heard today, I do find that it's in the best interest of Hadley that the parental rights of the mother, Krista Klein, be terminated. I'll terminate those rights today based on Texas Family Code, section 161.001, subsections B, 1D, E, N as in Nancy, O, and P. I further find that it's in the best interest of her father, Jerry Stiegel, be terminated. I'll terminate those rights today based on Texas Family Code, section 161.001, subsections B, 1D, E, N as in Nancy, and O. I will name the department permanent managing conservator. I will continue Hadley's current placement. I will order that Mr. Harris remain on as the child's attorney ad litem. Ms. Talley, does Casa want to stay on or be dismissed?
We'd like to stay on the case, please.
Okay. All right, then I'll order that both Mr. Harris and Casa remain on the case. I will order that all other court-appointed relationships will be dismissed after all appellate and de novo periods have expired. Ms. Archer, Ms. Lucero, if you talk to your clients, discuss with them their de novo and appellate rights. And I'm going to order that there be no goodbye visits for the parents. I don't believe I've heard anything that would warrant those goodbye visits. So, all right, then. That will conclude this hearing. We'll stand in recess. Our next hearing, our first review hearing in this case, will be on April 3rd, 2024. That will be by Zoom for the people who are still involved in the case. So you can go on the court's online docket a day or so in advance of April 3rd to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Ms. Novak, I want to compliment you on your preparedness. You obviously prepared for this hearing, and I can't tell you how it makes my job so much easier. So thank you for all the hard work you put in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, this was our last hearing of the day, so we will stand in recess. Everybody have a good rest of your week.
Thank you,
You
Judge.
too.
I'm
Thank you.
unmuted. I'm unmuted and thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Nori, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.